"I've brought the divorce papers from the safe, ma'am," my secretary said, her voice soft as she placed a heavy envelope on the table. We were in a quiet corner of a fancy restaurant, candles flickering, celebrating what was supposed to be our 5th wedding anniversary. I picked up the envelope and opened it without any fuss. 5 years ago, the day Mark Peterson and I got married, he was the one who insisted on this agreement. He signed it and put it in a safe, promising that if he ever cheated on me, I could use it to end our marriage right then and there. I signed my name on the line he'd left for me. I looked at the empty chair across the table, a wave of sadness washing over me. "Give this to the lawyer," I told my secretary, "and book a hotel. Get everything ready for a wedding." She paused. "Whose name should I put on the invitations?" "Mark Peterson and Jessica Evans." The room felt suddenly colder. My secretary's voice shook a little. "Ma'am, Jessica Evans? Isn't that Mr. Peterson's first love?" I just nodded, looking out the window. A full hour of blue fireworks had just finished. In the last big burst, a message hung in the sky. "Happy 5th anniversary, Mark Peterson, Sarah Miller." I turned back. "Set the wedding for 7 days from now, and book me a plane ticket to Norway for that same day." "Norway?" she repeated, looking shocked. "Ma'am, are you sure you don't want to think about this?" When Mark and I got married, my parents, who lived in Norway, had turned down his very generous dowry. Instead, they made him sign a different kind of agreement. If I ever came home to them, heartbroken and alone, Mark Peterson would be banned from ever entering Norway again. He wouldn't even get the chance to try and win me back. I shook my head. There's nothing to reconsider. 7 days from now was also my birthday. I would fly to Norway and let Mark have the wedding he so clearly wanted with Jessica. After my secretary left, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the company's social media page. Mark had posted a picture of the blue fireworks and tagged me. "Happy 5th anniversary, my love. I will always love you," the caption read. The post blew up. Within a minute, there were over 1,000 comments. I was wondering who was setting off all those fireworks. It was Mr. Peterson being romantic again. 5 years and he's still so in love with her. It's like a fairy tale. I heard that last year after his surgery, the first thing he said when he woke up and saw Mrs. Miller was, "Your stomach acts up sometimes. Did you remember to eat lunch?" The nurses were all crying. Mark even replied to one of the comments, "Sarah is my wife. It's my job to love her, protect her, and make her happy for the rest of her life." Everyone was so envious, so full of admiration. But me, the woman at the center of it all, I just sat there, staring at the empty seat across from me. Mark and I had been deeply in love once. We dated for 7 years before we got married, and we never had a single fight. For 7 years, he gave me everything: money, status, love. He made me feel like I was the only person in the world for him. Until a month ago, he was on a business trip, and I got a voice message from his phone. But when I played it, it wasn't his voice. It was a woman's. "I've only been back for 6 months, and all it took was a little flirting for him to fall for me," she said with a laugh. "He's setting off blue fireworks for me tonight. I don't even like blue, but I guess it's a nice thought for your anniversary." I didn't know who she was until 2 weeks later, at a party. Mark showed up with a young woman he introduced as a distant cousin. "This is Jessica Evans," he said, smiling. Jessica's pretty face lit up. "Hi, cousine-in-law. I've been back for over 6 months, and I'm so happy to finally meet you." Her voice hit me like a ton of bricks. It was the same voice from the message. I left the party right away. I couldn't stand to be there. That night, after Mark came home, I got another message from an unknown number. "The rooftop was wild tonight. I got a little carried away. There are scratch marks all over your man. Say what you want, but he's got stamina." I looked over at Mark, sleeping in our bed. He was half-dressed, and I could see fresh scratches across his chest. The shirt he was wearing was one I had custom-made for our anniversary last year. It was part of a matching set. On the collar, I had embroidered the word husband by hand. When I gave it to him, he held my hand and said, "Sarah, every time I wear this, it'll remind me to stay away from other women. I belong only to you." Now, that same shirt had another woman's lipstick on it. Today was our anniversary. I got to the restaurant first. 5 minutes later, Mark called. "I'm working on a surprise for you," he said. "I can't make it to dinner, but go outside and watch the fireworks. He hung up before I could say anything. 2 minutes after that, he sent me a picture. It was him and Jessica, having a candlelit dinner. The table was covered in roses. It was perfect, romantic. So, that loving post on social media, had he written it while he was with her? I didn't reply. I just picked up my purse and went home. In our bedroom, I asked the housekeeper for a pair of scissors. I took out my matching shirt, the one with wife embroidered on the collar, and cut it into shreds. Then I took our marriage certificate and cut that up too. I put all the pieces into a gift box and wrote on the lid, "A wedding gift for your second marriage." Just as I finished, Mark came home smiling. He reached for my hand. "Come with me, I have a surprise for you." Downstairs, a huge truck was parked in the driveway. Inside was a giant pink gift box. He clapped his hands, and the box opened. Balloons and confetti flew out, and then I saw it. A brand new, blush-colored Maybach. 2 people were holding up a banner that said, "For our Princess Sarah." People nearby gasped. Mark handed me the car keys, his expression full of love. "You mentioned wanting a new car last time," he said softly. "I remembered. As your husband, it's my job to buy you anything you want." I reached for the keys, but then I saw it. Around his wrist was a bracelet. It was made from a woman's bra strap. My stomach turned. "What's wrong? You don't like the car? The color?" Mark asked, looking concerned. I shook my head, my eyes starting to burn. "The car is fine," I said quietly. "It wasn't the car I didn't want. It was him." As we walked back into the bedroom, Mark's sharp eyes spotted the gift box on my vanity. He reached for it, a smile in his voice. "Sarah, is this a surprise you prepared for me?" His eyes were shining with excitement. I forced a small smile, keeping my face blank. "Yes, but you can't open it yet. I'm still working on the second part of the gift." "In 7 days, I'll give you both." I paused, my voice even. "Knowing you, I think you'll like them." 2 surprises in 7 days? He repeated, looking intrigued. He started muttering to himself, trying to figure out what was special about that date. Then his face lit up. He stepped out of the room and called his assistant. "I almost forgot. 7 days from now is Sarah's birthday," he said. "Go ahead and plan a huge party. The bigger the better. She deserves the best." He didn't see me standing in the doorway, my face pale, my expression like ice. In all our 7 years together, he had never forgotten my birthday. But this year, Jessica was back, and just like that, he'd forgotten. Fine. I wanted to see how he would handle this big birthday party he was planning. I wanted to see the look on his face when the guest of honor never showed up. I took out my phone and messaged my secretary. "Find out which hotel Mark is using for my birthday party, then book the floor above it for our wedding ceremony." She replied immediately. "Yes, ma'am." I went to take a shower. Just then, Mark got another call from his assistant. "By the way, sir, don't forget to take Mrs. Miller to that cake shop by the university today. She'll be disappointed if she misses it." "Right, I almost forgot," Mark said. "Order the cake in her favorite flavors. I'll take her there myself." He hung up and pushed open the bedroom door. I had heard everything. He gently took the bathrobe from my hands. "Sarah, let's go to that cake shop by the university. I asked the owner to prepare something special. It'll be ready when we get there." That little cake shop held a lot of memories. I used to go there all the time when I was in college. It was right in front of that shop that I first met Mark. 2 years later, we were married. Every anniversary since, he would take me back there for a slice of cake. In the past, he never needed a reminder. Now, it took a call from his assistant for him to remember. An hour later, our black Bentley pulled up in front of the small cake shop. A young woman doing a live stream nearby recognized us and pointed her phone in our direction. "Oh my gosh, it's Mr. Peterson, the husband who spoils his wife like crazy. Look, everyone, my favorite couple. Rumor has it he brings his wife here every anniversary. It's true." As Mark helped me out of the car, he noticed my shoelace was untied. Without a second thought, right there in front of everyone, he knelt down and carefully tied it for me. A group of college girls nearby squealed. One of them even came up to us. A billionaire CEO tying his wife's shoes. Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness." I looked down at the man kneeling in front of me and gave a polite, distant smile. We went inside and sat at our usual table by the window. Mark looked at the counter and asked, "Is the cake ready? The filling should be mango and the frosting strawberry." That's how Sarah likes it, and please write happy 5th anniversary on top. Just finished, the shop owner said with a kind smile. She remembered us. Just a few moments ago, I told my husband, even though it's past 9, I bet they'll show up. The way they love each other, they wouldn't miss this day. She placed the cake in front of us. 5 years now, and Mr. Peterson still treats Miss Miller like a princess. So, when are you two planning on having a baby? Mark looked at me with so much affection. We're letting nature take its course, he said, his smile softening. Hopefully by the end of the year. Boy or girl, I'll love the child just the same, as long as Sarah is the one who gives birth. I stared at the cake. After a few seconds, I said nothing. Mark started to cut the cake when a man came into the shop. He told Mark that his car had been scratched in the parking lot and that he should come take a look. Mark frowned, clearly annoyed. I'll go check. Sarah, you go ahead and start. I'll be right back. Then he added, order whatever you want to drink, but nothing cold. Your period is due in 2 days. His concern made the other customers whisper in admiration. He even remembers her cycle. Mr. Peterson is the perfect husband. If I were Miss Miller, I'd feel like the luckiest woman alive. The shop owner smiled at me. You're really blessed. It's rare to find a man who is both faithful and tender these days. I forced a bitter smile. Yes, very rare indeed. In fact, I never found one. I didn't want to talk anymore, so I turned to look out the window. Outside, Mark followed the man who had come in. They talked for a moment, and then I saw Mark nod and get into a pink Mercedes G-Class SUV parked next to our Bentley. That pink SUV looked familiar. At the last party, Jessica had shown up in a car just like it. The license plate was the same. I'd heard it was a welcome home gift from Mark worth nearly $300. It cost about the same as the Maybach he gave me today. Mark really knew how to keep things balanced between his past and his present, his first love and his wife. He treated us both with equal care. I couldn't see what was happening inside the pink SUV. I looked away just as my phone lit up. It was a call from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. A familiar voice came through the other end. So, Jessica finally learned to be clever, sending someone else to lure me out. It was Mark, his voice low and full of desire. She asked my assistant for my location. Jessica's sweet, pouting voice chimed in. I told her I'd come after you went to sleep. I feel terrible just thinking about you spending your anniversary with her. Imagining what you two might do after, it makes me feel sick. Mark chuckled. My dear, I gave you all the best tonight. I won't touch her. Besides, didn't I take you 3 times just 2 hours ago? Still not enough? I want more, Jessica whined. Hurry up and send her home. Come to me now. You little tease, he laughed. Follow behind in your car. We'll have our fun inside it. You naughty man. The call ended with the sound of a long, wet kiss. My fingers were trembling as I ended the call. My eyes fell on the untouched cake in front of me, and a wave of nausea washed over me. It felt like something was squeezing my heart, making me dizzy and sick. With a shaky hand, I picked up a fork and stabbed the little chocolate plaque on top of the cake, the one that said Happy 5th Anniversary over and over again until it was just a pile of crumbs. About 30 minutes later, Mark came back. The moment he saw my pale face and the barely touched cake, his expression changed. Sarah, your face is so pale. Are you feeling all right? Let me take you to the doctor. I turned my head away. I didn't want to see the concern on his face. It looked too much like a lie. I heard something disgusting, I said flatly. I lost my appetite. His brow furrowed. What did you hear? My eyes were red, but my voice was quiet. You wouldn't want to know. Mark looked completely confused. He reached out to hold me, but I stepped away. Without another word, I stood up, walked out of the cake shop, and got into a taxi. I told the driver my home address. From behind me, Mark called out, Sarah, wait for me! Seeing the taxi pull away, Mark jumped into his Bentley and sped after me. In the back seat, I looked in the rearview mirror. It was an absurd scene. Mark's Bentley was tailing my cab, and right behind him was a bright pink Mercedes G-Wagon. When the taxi finally pulled into our neighborhood, I got out. Mark followed, grabbing my hand. Sarah, why are you angry? Is it because I had to deal with the car and missed having cake with you? I lifted my chin and looked him straight in the eye. His handsome face was filled with worry and guilt, but not a trace of the kind of fear a man would have after being caught cheating. Yes, I said simply. Mark sighed. I handled it badly. Next time something like that happens, even if the car gets completely wrecked, I'll stay with you. He took my hand, his voice softening. I just got a call from my assistant. One of our important clients had a terrible accident and fell from a building. He's in critical condition. I need to go there now. Is that all right with you? I frowned. I saw a flicker of excitement in his eyes that gave away the lie. He couldn't wait to get away. He even made up a story about a client falling from a building. I gave a small, bitter smile but didn't call him out on it. I just nodded and walked toward the house. But when I got to the front door, I didn't go in. Instead, I turned and walked toward the parking garage. There, in the dim light, I saw them. Through the windshield of the pink G-Wagon, Mark and Jessica were locked in a passionate embrace, kissing like they were the only two people in the world. Inside the car, Jessica's voice was sultry. I wore the black stockings just for you, nothing underneath. After all these years, I know your tastes haven't changed. Mark's eyes lit up with desire. He slid his hand under her dress, his voice thick with lust. Are you planning to wear me out tonight? I can't wait. Jessica pressed down on his hand, her lips curling into a smile. Let's go somewhere better. You always liked the lake, didn't you? Mark grinned, his throat moving as he swallowed hard. Going all out tonight? Jessica leaned in with a wink. Isn't it my birthday tomorrow? Consider it a reward for being so good to me. The G-Wagon started and rolled out of the garage. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Mark with a GPS pin. The lakeside. Half an hour later, I was in another taxi, watching from a distance as the pink G-Wagon stopped. Mark opened the sunroof, and within a minute, the whole car started to shake. People walking by stopped to stare, some laughing, some gasping. Outdoors, by the lake in a luxury SUV, these rich people really know how to live, one man commented. Man, that's wild. Lucky guy, another added. I watched, my eyes red-rimmed, my whole body numb. My hands were trembling as I recorded a 5-minute video. Afterward, my voice low and raspy, I sent it to my assistant with a message. Play this on our wedding day. Then I called my mother. Mom, I'm coming to Norway in 7 days to see you and Dad. My mother heard the tremble in my voice and immediately grew concerned. Is Mark coming with you? No, I replied. I'm coming home alone. Her tone softened. All right, sweetheart, don't be sad. I'll meet you at the airport. Late that night, Mark came home, stumbling and drunk. He woke me up, held my face in his hands, and kissed me over and over again with a clumsy tenderness. Baby, I love you so much, he murmured. You can yell at me, hit me, whatever you want. Just promise me you'll never leave me. Sweetheart, I promise I'll never cheat on you. I lay there, staring at him coldly. The lipstick mark on his neck told a different story. But what bothered me the most was that even in his drunken state, the love in his eyes looked completely real. The next morning, I woke up slowly. Mark had already gotten everything ready for Mimi: toothbrush, warm water, even my clothes for the day. After I got ready, we went downstairs together. As we sat at the table, Mark's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and then gave me an apologetic smile. Sarah, I won't be home tonight. There's a gathering I need to go to. I paused, holding my fork. I knew exactly who he was going to be with, but I didn't say anything. All right. After he left, I followed him in a taxi. 20 minutes later, Mark drove into a beautiful residential complex. Jessica, dressed in a stylish white outfit, saw his Bentley and ran over, waving excitedly. She got into the passenger seat, and they sat there for a while, talking and laughing, before Mark drove off again. About 30 minutes later, his Bentley pulled up to a bridal photography studio. Jessica got out, waited for him, and then linked her arm through his as they walked inside. The staff at the entrance greeted them enthusiastically. Mr. Peterson, Miss Evans, we've cleared the studio for you. Let me show you the types of bridal shots you'll be taking today. From my taxi, I stared at them, my face blank. A chill crept over me, wrapping itself tightly around my chest. My phone rang. It was my best friend, Chloe. Sarah, where are you? I want to meet for tea. I told her where I was. There was a pause, and then Chloe gasped dramatically. You and Mark are renewing your vows? 5 years in and still going strong? Girl, you're killing us single people with all this sweetness. My voice was quiet, filled with bitterness. Chloe, he's not taking pictures with me. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then Chloe's tone changed completely. You mean he's with another woman? Mark is cheating on you? That can't be. Hold on, I'll be there in 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, I climbed into Chloe's car. My hands were cold, my face pale. Chloe shot me a worried look and asked what had happened. I quietly started to explain everything, how Jessica had come back from overseas and how quickly Mark had betrayed me. I pulled out my phone and played the voice message Jessica had sent from Mark's phone a month ago, the one that was so mocking and arrogant. With a bitter smile, I pointed across the street to the bridal boutique. Look, Chloe, today is Jessica's birthday. Mark brought her here to take wedding photos. Chloe followed my gaze. Inside the boutique, Mark was gently adjusting the neckline of Jessica's wedding dress. His expression was tender, his hands careful, as if he were handling a priceless piece of art. Chloe's brows furrowed. I can't take this, she said through gritted teeth. Let me go in there and give them both a piece of my mind, get you some justice. Chloe was never one to back down. She rolled up her sleeves, ready to storm the store, but I quickly stopped her. Wait, I said quietly. I want to see what else they'll do. Half an hour passed before Mark and Jessica came out. He was in a sharp black suit, and she was in a white, form-fitting wedding gown. Hand in hand, they got into a sleek Bentley. A little while later, the car pulled up beside a lake. The area had been blocked off to keep paparazzi away. A photographer who was clearly expecting them greeted them with a wide grin. You two are such a perfect match. The photographer gushed. Truly a golden couple. You're the most beautiful pair I've ever had the honor to photograph. Jessica clung to Mark's arm and giggled. Well, I have great taste in men. My husband is incredibly handsome. Over the next 30 minutes, they changed into 3 different outfits. The air was chilly, but Mark was attentive the whole time. During breaks, he wrapped Jessica in a thick shawl to keep her warm. When she looked tired, he gently encouraged her until she smiled again. Once they were finished, instead of leaving, Mark suddenly dropped to one knee. Jessica gasped. He pulled out a bouquet of roses and an engagement ring. You once said all you wanted was to take wedding photos, Mark said softly. I always felt like I owed you a real proposal. You kept saying I didn't have to, but I can't stand the thought of you feeling unimportant. Jessica, will you marry me? Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes. She nodded eagerly. Yes, I will. I absolutely will. The camera crew nearby cheered and shouted, Say yes! Say yes! Inside the car, I watched it all with an icy expression. My heart felt like it had turned to stone. 5 years ago, Mark had proposed to me just like this. He had worn the same kind of suit, held the same kind of bouquet, and knelt with a carefully chosen ring. He had even choked up, tears slipping from his eyes. Sarah, he had said, you're the only woman I will ever love. No other woman could ever take your place. I swear if I ever cheat on you, may I be struck down. Now, sitting in Chloe's car, I let out a bitter laugh. That laughter quickly turned into quiet sobs. It was all a lie. Every promise, every tear, every vow of love it had all just vanished. Chloe reached over and gently placed a hand on my shoulder. They're leaving. Do you want to follow them? I blinked away my tears and nodded. Yes, I want to see where they go next. An hour later, the Bentley pulled up in front of an upscale restaurant in the busiest part of the city. The window seats there were almost impossible to get. It wasn't a busy mealtime, and only a few tables were occupied. Each booth had screens for privacy. Clearly, Mark had made careful arrangements. After watching them go in, I quickly bought a more mature-looking outfit from a nearby store. I put on a face mask and a wide-brimmed hat before walking into the restaurant. Chloe had already taken care of everything. She had paid a generous amount to get the booth right behind Mark's. Just as we sat down, a middle-aged couple, guided by a waiter, joined Mark and Jessica at their table. They looked like ordinary people in their 50s, but the woman looked strikingly similar to Jessica. Could that be Jessica's parents? Chloe whispered. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out my phone and, through a small gap in the screen, took several pictures. One photo showed Mark handing a black credit card to the woman. This disgusting man really knows how to throw his money around, Chloe hissed. I stared at the phone, my eyes dark. When Mark had first met my parents years ago, he had also brought a black card with no spending limit, but my parents had refused it. They didn't want to sell their daughter, and now he was doing the exact same thing with someone else. Let's go, I said quietly. I couldn't stand to be there a moment longer. As we stepped back out onto the street, Chloe offered to drive me home, but I shook my head. Chloe, I need to be alone for a while. Chloe didn't push. She just reminded me, again and again, to be safe. Once I was alone, I wandered the streets with no destination. The temperature had dropped, and my coat was too thin, but the cold in my bones was nothing compared to the chill in my heart. I don't know how long I walked before my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark's number. I opened it. 3 wedding photos filled the screen. In one, Jessica leaned intimately against Mark's chest. In another, they were kissing. In the third, Mark was kneeling with flowers while Jessica smiled proudly. A message followed. We took our wedding photos today. He proposed to me in front of everyone. I was so touched. He even offered to meet my parents. Aside from signing the papers, we've done everything a couple would do before marriage. Who says sharing a husband is a bad thing? I'm fine with it. The question is, are you? I read the smug words in silence. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent the 3 wedding photos to my secretary, along with the pictures I had taken at the restaurant. Then I added screenshots of the message from Jessica. These should be shown at the wedding, I wrote. After sending the files, I put my phone away. I kept walking like a ghost, lost in my own thoughts, never noticing the black sedan speeding toward me. There was a terrible crash. My body was thrown nearly 6 feet through the air. A long time passed before I slowly opened my eyes again. The sharp smell of disinfectant filled my nose. All I could see was a stark white hospital ceiling. Mark was at my bedside in an instant, his eyes red with worry and guilt. You're awake, he said, his voice trembling. Are you in pain? Tell me where it hurts. I turned my gaze slowly toward him. He looked devastated, as if he wished it had been him lying in that bed. I felt a wave of nausea. The image of their wedding photos flashed in my mind, making my stomach churn. Mark Peterson, I thought silently. Which version of you is real? Seeing me so pale, Mark leaned forward. Why are you so quiet? Are you feeling sick? I'll call the doctor. But before he could leave, I gently grabbed his hand. My voice was weak as I asked, Why are you here? Mark paused. He had gotten a call from the hospital while he was having dinner with Jessica's parents. Panic had taken over, and he had rushed straight here without any explanation. I was out with a client for dinner, he said, trying to sound calm. There's a big contract we're working on. When the hospital called and told me about the accident, I came right over. I looked at him quietly, my eyes dark and unreadable. You came straight from the client meeting? Yes, he replied with a sigh. I'm exhausted, Sarah. I slowly closed my eyes without answering. Mark sat beside me in silence, but not for long. His phone suddenly rang. He declined the call without hesitation, but it rang again. Annoyed, he set it to silent and quickly typed a reply. A moment later, looking agitated, he made an excuse and rushed out of the room. Soon after he left, my friend Chloe arrived. Her face was troubled. Guess who I saw on my way up here, she said, sitting beside me. I pushed myself up slightly. Was it Mark? Chloe rolled her eyes. Oh yes, and not just him. This hospital's 3rd floor is the maternity wing. When the elevator doors opened, I saw Mark standing there with Jessica. She was holding a prenatal checkup report, and he looked like he was on top of the world. I heard him muttering, I'm going to be a father. He looked like he just won the lottery. I blinked slowly, lowering my gaze, but my expression remained calm. So, she's pregnant, I said softly. Chloe frowned. Something about my reaction felt off. She leaned closer and touched my forehead. You're not angry, and you don't have a fever, so your brain is still working. I gave a faint, pale smile. You don't know, Mark can't have children. The doctors told us years ago. 3 years ago we had tried for a baby for a whole year, but nothing happened. I had assumed the problem was with me and booked an appointment at the hospital. Mark had gone with me, worried about how I would take the news. The test results showed that it was Mark who was infertile. That night, I didn't sleep. I cried, and then I convinced myself that just having Mark by my side would be enough, even if we never had children. I even protected his pride and his career by asking the doctor to keep the diagnosis a secret. Publicly, the story was that I was the one undergoing treatment to improve my chances of conceiving. Now, watching Mark so happy about being a father to Jessica's baby, I felt like a fool for hiding the truth all these years. Chloe gasped. This is huge, Sarah. I have an idea. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. "You're moving to Norway in 5 days, right? Let's pretend we don't know anything. Let Jessica give birth. After that, we'll mail Mark his medical report. Let's see if he's still smiling then." The next morning, Mark didn't show up at the hospital. In the afternoon, his secretary came by to give me an update on the wedding preparations. Before she left, she hesitated. "If you have something to say, just say it," I said. The secretary looked around cautiously, then leaned in and whispered, "During lunch, Mr. Peterson asked me to deliver some documents to the house. When I got there, I saw Jessica wearing sleepwear and sitting on the sofa in your living room." She paused, then added, "You've always been kind to me, so I felt I should let you know." A chill went up my spine. My face turned cold. I was still recovering in the hospital, and Jessica had already moved into our home. No wonder Mark insisted that I let him know before I was discharged. He wanted time to hide everything. "Thank you," I said calmly. I picked up my phone and opened the home surveillance app. The screen was black. Mark had blocked the cameras. I frowned and turned to my secretary. "Tonight, I'll find a way to get both Mark and Jessica out of the house. I want you to send someone to reinstall hidden cameras. Make sure they're well hidden. Understood?" At 10 that night, Mark returned to my hospital room, his expression full of guilt. "Sarah, did you call me because you missed me? I'm sorry, today has been crazy with—" I interrupted him, my tone calm, giving him an easy way out. "I know you were preparing a birthday party for me, that's why you came so late." Mark blinked, then smiled and gently held my hand. "You know me best." I stared at him and replied softly, "Yes, I know you. I know everything you've done." Mark's heart skipped a beat. "Sarah!" Before he could continue, a nurse came in to change my IV. The next day, I checked the newly installed surveillance footage. In the living room, Jessica and Mark were having lunch. Jessica was sitting in my usual seat, pouting and saying she couldn't eat because of the pregnancy. Mark was coaxing her patiently, feeding her spoon by spoon. "Come on, you need to eat. Stay strong. Once the baby is born, I'll ask Sarah to be his godmother." After lunch, Jessica waddled upstairs, her face smug. Mark called the house staff over. "Jessica is pregnant and has a temper," he told them sternly. "Please be patient with her. And not a word about her moving in here. Sarah must not find out." "Yes, sir." I calmly turned off the video. I put my phone aside and told my secretary to start preparing the wedding invitations. "I'll draft the guest list today." 3 days before I was due to leave, Mark came to the hospital in the morning with a thermos. "I asked the housekeeper to make your favorite soup, lotus root with pork ribs. Try some." "All right," I said with a small nod. I took the spoon and began to eat slowly. After Mark left, I waited 30 minutes, then opened the surveillance app again. In the living room, Jessica was throwing a fit about wanting to go shopping. It was raining, and the roads were slippery, so Mark was worried she might fall. Instead, he arranged for several luxury brands to bring their merchandise to the house for her to choose from. He even had a baby brand deliver newborn clothes for her to look through. That evening, the lawyer arrived at the hospital. "Your divorce agreement with Mr. Peterson has been finalized." "Thank you," I replied. I glanced at the papers, then turned to my secretary. "Make a copy and put it inside the second wedding gift box. 7 years of misery and betrayal." It was finally time to end it. The day before I was set to leave, Mark came to the hospital early in the morning with a bouquet of sunflowers and a jade pendant he claimed he had begged a revered monk for. Smiling warmly, he gently placed the pendant around my neck. "Tomorrow, you'll finally be discharged," he said softly. "Last night, I went to see a master and asked for this pendant. It's blessed for peace and protection." I glanced at the jade pendant on my collarbone, my face darkening slightly. Last night, Jessica had complained of stomach pain. Mark, concerned, had rushed her to the hospital. While he was there, he had a monk craft, a talisman for Jessica to protect the baby. The pendant now hanging from my neck was just an afterthought, something he bought while he was there. Soon after Mark left, my secretary came in. "Ma'am, the invitations have been written. Once you're on the plane, we'll send out the electronic versions." She paused, her voice uncertain. "Mr. Peterson just bought the villa behind your house. He paid a significant sum for it." I frowned. "But wasn't that house already occupied?" The secretary hesitated before replying cautiously, "Yes, it was. But Mr. Peterson offered them a generous contract and compensation. They agreed to move out. She lowered her voice slightly. The villa is now under Jessica's name. He said it was a gift for her, for the pregnancy. My expression grew cold. I didn't say anything, but it was clear what Mark was planning. A little hidden haven for both the woman and the child. Later that evening, through the home security camera, I saw Jessica reluctantly telling the maids to move her things into the villa behind ours. The next morning was my last day. Mark arrived early to take me home. In the car, he carefully buckled my seatbelt. Sarah, today is your birthday. I've prepared a celebration for you. It starts at 7 this evening. Be sure to invite your close friends. All right, I replied. The black sedan entered our familiar neighborhood. After 4 days away, I returned to the house that had once felt like home. Everything was exactly as it was when I left for the hospital, as if Jessica had never been there. I went upstairs to the master bedroom. On the vanity was a tube of lipstick, uncapped. It was Guerlain No. 539? The placement was deliberate, a silent message. I didn't stay long. A maid came to call me down for lunch. At the dining table, Mark peeled shrimp for me and placed them gently on my plate. His gestures were tender, affectionate, just like when he had fed Jessica 2 days earlier. I chewed slowly, looking into his gentle, devoted eyes. I suddenly asked, Mark, just hypothetically, if one day you dreamed that I left you, would you be sad? Mark's hands froze. His expression turned serious. He reached for my hand. Sarah, not only would I be sad, I would go mad. Please, never leave me. I pursed my lips, but before I could respond, his phone buzzed on the table. I glanced over. It was a message from Jessica. I'm bleeding. It hurts so much. Do you think something's wrong with the baby? A flicker of panic crossed Mark's face. He stood up quickly. Sarah, there's a small issue with the setup for your party. I need to go check on it now. I'll come back to take you there later, all right? Just as he turned to leave, I reached out and gently held his hand. I smiled. Goodbye, Mark Peterson. He turned back sharply. There was something in my expression that struck him. It was quiet, calm, distant. For years, my eyes had only held him. Now, they were blank, cold, and empty. Sarah, you, he began. But before he could finish, his phone buzzed again. He turned and rushed out. I went back to the bedroom. I gathered my documents, took the jade pendant from my neck, and dropped it in the trash. Then I called my secretary. Mark has gone to be with Jessica. I'm heading to the airport now. Once I board the plane, proceed with the original plan for tonight. I paused before adding, and make sure Jessica is invited to her own wedding. Yes, ma'am, the secretary replied. An hour later, I arrived at the airport. After going through security, I sent a message to my parents to let them know I would be boarding in 30 minutes. Then, I opened my chat with Mark. I've prepared 2 surprises for you tonight. I hope you like them. Mark replied instantly. Sarah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm still at the venue, working on your birthday setup. I need to oversee things myself to make sure everything is perfect. I'll come pick you up soon. I smiled faintly. No need to pick me up. I'll go to the hotel on my own. But I wouldn't be going. The birthday party was on the 2nd floor of the hotel, the wedding on the 3rd. Only by keeping Mark waiting on the 2nd floor could my secretary send out the wedding invitations on schedule, ensuring the ceremony upstairs would go on as planned. 30 minutes later, the announcement for boarding the flight to Norway was made. I took out my SIM card and tossed it into the trash. Goodbye, Mark Peterson. From this moment on, you will never see me again.